Are you sometimes missing shots you know you should hit? I mean, we all do obviously, but today I wanted to see what is actually the cause for my most painful misses and see if I can isolate that problem and try to improve at it. A little bit of a disclaimer here. I don't believe anyone can just improve their aim instantly in one simple session, but I do think that my analytic approach in combination with somewhat of a trial and error method can lead to me, and maybe you as well, see what exactly we have to improve at in order to hit our shots when it matters most. But to get better, we first need to understand what the problem really is. And for that, I want to show you this first clip. So in order to hit moving targets, there are essentially 3 steps involved. A large flick to make 99% of the distance, a micro correction onto the target. Well, maybe it's actually 4 steps, since you also often need to track your target for some time in order to hit multiple shots. And depending on your approach, you also want to make sure the moment you click, your crosshair is on the target. You could keep breaking down every step into many more, but let's keep things simple today. As you can see in this example, the target is basically in a falling motion and you wouldn't really expect it to suddenly move up or sideways. So the reading is rather easy, but as it accelerates further and further the closer it gets to the ground, the harder it is to hit. That is something I struggle with. So my aim training scenario for today should have targets that accelerate and not just move at one constant speed. But I noticed another major problem, and I'm sure you did as well: strafing targets. The tricky part with these is, of course, that our enemy doesn't really enjoy being bonked in the head by our pixel bullets and will move as unpredictable as possible while also trying to inject us with his projectiles. That sounds wrong, but anyways, my problem with the movement of this Teemo Robin Hood is that whenever I try to flick onto him, because I feel under pressure, I neither target confirm nor do I micro correct. My idiot ass just flicks to wherever I expect him to be. That's not just stupid, but also a really bad habit, so we want to try and break that habit a bit as well. All in all, our ideal scenario for today should incorporate multiple moving targets that are, with our own skill level in mind, relatively hard to hit, plus we have to track them for a little bit at the end of each flick. On top of that, we want our targets to mostly move horizontally and accelerate here and there. That sounds awfully like target switching, especially like speed target switching tasks that I know I'm not very good at. And now everyone act surprised please, because I pretty much found exactly that. CowserTS, a scenario that has small enough targets so I have to flick but also micro correct onto them, and they are evasive, so the bots try to mimic movement of a player that wants to avoid getting hit, which sounds almost perfect for my needs. They also accelerate and deaccelerate, which is pretty much perfect, plus their size makes it a real challenge for me to 1. Stay on target, and 2. Track their movement with my eyes before I flick onto them. They move sideways as well as up and down, but the more common movement seems to be horizontal, so I think this scenario might actually be perfect for my needs. Let's see if we can grind this task for a little bit and maybe even apply better technique in another gaming session right after. But we should also talk about what I found not to be ideal with this task. Obviously, it's not a dynamic clicking scenario, so we miss out on the target confirmation part, but let's be honest, no single task can incorporate every aspect, so that's to be expected. Some of the larger targets seem to disappear in the ground sometimes, but honestly, that's just a kovaaks thing that can happen, I think, so who cares. Lastly, the bots in this scenario always start out at the same positions, I think, which is just a minor thing, but I found it to be a little annoying, so I thought I'd mention it. Now, before I show you how much this scenario actually helped me apply better technique in-game, to my own surprise, I wanted to mention this task I think can build a bad habit for your tension management, as you are constantly either having a little bit of tension in your wrist, or your forearm, or even shoulder, so try to be aware of your tension, and maybe as Viscose, a very well-known aimer, has once said, think of your tension as of like a refillable bar. You should never just hold the tension the entire time, because then you will exhaust your muscles and can't use it when actually needed, but rather use it very deliberately and try to consciously decide to let go of the tension when you don't need it. As always, if you at any point feel like I'm talking nonsense, please let me know your opinion. I'm just on a self-improvement mission here and want to share my possibly helpful thought process, but I might just be completely wrong with some stuff, so don't hold back with things you would do differently. But now let's see what difference one simple session can actually make. Yes, you won't be able to just fix your problems, but at the very least you can be aware when you make mistakes and attempt to implement your learnings more efficient. You could argue I just warmed up, and in a way, yes, I did. But I also tried to get better at one very specific skill, and right off the gate, I could tell my aim was snappier and more precise. I also made the same mistakes as before, but I was more aware and could at least actually try to force better technique in the heat of the moment. I have still a lot to improve at, but I noticed I took more time to actually confirm my hits and micro track. So if you think you suffer from similar problems as me, maybe try this scenario and similar ones to tackle that issue. I see you next time. Bye!